What's going on, people? Welcome to Live Palace News. Today is going to be Olise-driven news. Of course, there is that interest from Manchester United, and also on top of that, we've got an update on that potential hamstring injury. And you know what? Let's have a conversation, because there's a lot of people that's actually getting onto Roy Hodgson about the injury, and some are saying maybe this is down to his lack of game management. So, we'll be discussing the pros and cons of Roy's use of Olise, and also we've got transfer updates. As I mentioned, Olise is going to be on the agenda, and on top of that, there's also going to be talks on Eddie and Nketiah, plus more. As always, if you do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let's keep the channel growing and get involved in the comment section down below. Hopefully you're all having a great evening. There's for those that are over in America, I don't know if you know, but there's a 16-year-old Pele who's apparently playing darts. And I've got it on in the background. I honestly don't know what's going on. So I thought, you know what, let's just get started with the Palace and the football bit of business, because I don't know what's going on with darts. But look, I'm going to start off with Olise today, because I think that's the big one. As you can see from the title, Manchester United are interested in Olise. But before we actually talk about the transfer news, I do want to touch on the update that Roy gave pre-Everton game on his injury. I'm going to actually share the quotes up on the screen right now. According to Roy Hodgson, he said the following. He said, Hodgson on Olise, we're hoping that this one isn't going to be like this one that put him out the game for 6 months. It's another little setback. That is what Roy Hodgson said to the press ahead of the game against Everton. So Olise, he will be out. Unfortunately, won't be featuring in the Everton game, which hurts, of course. And we don't know how long he's out for, which is another painful thing. We don't know. And when he's been on form as he has been, I mean, everyone is talking about Olise. You log on Twitter right now, you'll see random people that don't support Palace are saying, how much is Olise worth? Having compilations of Olise. He's the main talk right now in the Premier League. Everyone's hyped on Olise. But I do want to talk about this, and I'm going to bring out some quotes as well, because of course, injuries are part and parcel of the game. But I think we have to look at the manager in this as well. And before people blame me, let me land and explain my point, and then you can explain your point as well. When we talk about game management is not only about you're 2-1 up and you're trying to keep a lead, or you're 1-0 down and you're trying to change the game like that. Game management and player management is also a duty to take care of the player. Are they tired? A simple factor is that, is Olise tired? Is Eze tired? Can we change the game by bringing on new, fresh players? And we've been talking about it for ages here. We have been talking about, the lack of subs, how subs are late on. And I'll be honest, I do think this is more on, I'm not saying directly on Roy, because of course we don't have exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm going to bring out some quotes. But I do think Roy is partly to blame for this injury. I mean, first of all, we're winning the game 3-1. Why is Olise still on the pitch, despite us knowing that he's come from a very long injury? And Roy Hodgson has been warned about this, and I'm not making this up. I'm going to go through all the quotes right now, and of course they're just going to display. Oh, I've got it up right now. I mean, it's not just with Olise. I'm going to bring up other players like Zaha, for example. When he went to Galatasaray, the Galatasaray doctors a few months ago said that, they basically had a dig at Palace, saying that he was rushed back every single time. And that's why he's been suffering with injuries. And on top of that, we've got, with the Olise quote. Let me bring out the Olise quote. So this was back in 13th of December last year, of course, just recent year, less than a month ago. And Roy Hodgson said the following. He said, we're going through a bad spell, and it looks like the bad spell will continue. And on top of that, from Dom Smith, who is a journalist for the Evening Standard, the Palace medical staff were forced to continuously caution Hodgson for overworking Michael Olise last week. This was on the 13th of December. See, this is where it comes in on whether these injuries are luck, or whether we are literally tiring these players out and forcing them to play, despite the manager knowing that they cannot play. They're at a high risk of injury. This was warned to us on the 13th of December. Now, there is the other side of things, because Hodgson's job is under pressure. Now, he doesn't want to get sacked. Olise has been having a fantastic run, and he has been scoring goals, getting assists. But you have to look at the longer picture. He just come back from a nasty injury. He was out for a very long time. According to quotes from journalists, that's coming out. He was warned about Olise. But what really changed? Nothing really changed for Olise. And here we are again talking about Olise hamstring injury. Now, Roy in today's press conference did say that he shouldn't be something long-term at 6 months. But how long is it? Is it 2 weeks? Is it a month? 2 months? 3 months? And how could have we prevented this? This is where my frustration comes down to. You know, we're not just saying use the subs for the sake of using subs, but use the subs to actually save the players that we have got out there on the pitch. For example, Olise didn't have to finish the game against Brentford. He didn't have to finish the game. We could have, you know, brought on a Franca or someone else for the last 15, 20 minutes and had fresh players on the pitch and, you know, minimize the chance of Olise getting injured. But Olise walks off the pitch, feeling his hamstring, and we warned. So I think a part of this blame has to go on Roy Hodgson. I understand why he's playing Olise, because he has got this determination to win games, and he has to win games. We have to win games. Remember, before the Brentford game, it was all dull. It's like, when is our next win coming? And he was under pressure. But then again, you have to trust the squad more. And this links directly to the transfer window as well. Because a lot of people are saying this, and I don't agree with it. But why should we bring in players if the manager's not going to use it? There is that as well. Why should we bring in players the manager's not going to use it? We've had the squad. I'm not saying we have a complete squad, but we've had the likes of Ahmad on the bench, who had a very good preseason, by the way. Also, Franca, which we know and we talk about. Also, we've had these players out on the bench, but we barely use them. We go to games with the same 11, and look how many games we had in December. Just look at the games that we had in December. I'll read them out, and I'll read out the dates as well. There wasn't any real time for recovery. And he was cautioned about this earlier on in December. You know, the games were coming thick and fast. The Brentford game, 30th of December. Chelsea game, 3 days before, 27th. Then you got Brighton on the 21st. Then you got City. How many games? We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 games in December. 7 games in December. And we, despite us having 7 games with a player that's coming back from a long-term injury that has been cautioned from the medical staff, we decided to not use other players, to not forget about game management, to actually, you know, use the sub to save the players that we got out on the pitch. It's not a coincidence that Olise is out. I truly don't believe that. The medical staff, according to reports, have warned Hodgson. He didn't listen to them, and this has happened before. He just likes to use his favorites because he trusts them, but he doesn't actually care about the players in terms of, you know, what's actually going on with them. You know, physios will always give advice. I'm not a physio myself. I understand that. But if he's been cautioned and this injury is coming up after having that many games in December, I don't think it's that much of a surprise. I just think that's poor management. Poor management of not taking off Olise when he needs to be taken off, or using him too much. And here we are again with another Olise injury. And that's what frustrates me more than anything. You know, I'm going to go through some of the comments to see what you lot are thinking. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know. But that's how I feel. I feel Roy Hodgson has to take a bit of blame. I understand why he was using Olise as much. But then again, if you are going to use him as much, at least take him off in the last 10 to 15 minutes of a game, or 20 minutes of a game that you're 3-1 up on. You know, at least have faith on your bench, because Olise might be the first player like this, but next up it might be Eze, or it might be other players that we're overusing. And we went through a nasty injury crisis in the middle of the season, and people are talking about the amount of game time that these players are having to go through. But with Palace, it's not just the amount of game time, it's the lack of subs on top of the game time. You know, these players, they're not getting rotated. They have to play week in, week out. And of course, they're going to be picking up injuries. So yeah, let's just see. There's a lot of comments. Let me actually go through them right now. Cody's saying, I said it in the post-match episode, no point in not subbing around the 65th, 70th minute. Now look at where it got us. Another injured Olise. Does anyone know how long he's probably out for? There's no indication of that. Luke, unfortunately, Roy said that it shouldn't be 6 months, but hopefully it's nothing serious and he's back for the Arsenal game. But then again, when it's hamstring involved, it's hard to say, because normally it's a nasty injury to have. Michael saying, love the show. I think Roy isn't a bad thing. Let's just get behind him till the end. I'd love to get someone better, but he's here now. We get someone good. That's fine. Roy can stay here till the end of the season. That's not even the argument right now. The argument and the point that I'm making is we have to use our subs. we have to use our subs. We cannot go with the same lineup, same players that were injured for a long time and expect them to stay fit for throughout the season. There's a lot of games that we went through in December, and he will naturally catch up to them. The physios warned him, and this was on the 13th of December. He didn't listen, and here we are. He's just been overplayed. As much as I love to see Olise play out on the pitch, there comes a time where you just have to use your sense as well. You know, if the physios are saying there's this risk of injury of Olise and we're using too much, then it might be worth listening to them. But, you know, he starts every game and it's not getting subbed as well. So it's like, well, what's the point? It's like, what's the point of having a bench? What's the point of having a bench? Not even Jordan Ayew that I want off. I want players that, of course, we don't know exact details about who can play how many minutes and what the physio recommends. But clearly, Olise, he shouldn't be playing this long in games, especially in games with 27th to the 30th. Like, there's too many games for him. And that's what's caught up to him. That's what I think it is. Luke saying, does this guy forget what subs are? Cody saying, Roy's decisions now come to light with consequences. I said this earlier on in the season. You have to use subs to not kill our players, but his lack of trust in our youth has gotten us here. Tim saying, we can't know if obviously, but I can't see it. How do you get an investor in who's preaching responsibility and a splash 100 million plus and a risk of FFP? No, don't see it. Yeah, we're not. I don't know if there's another conversation going on, probably about Olise, which we'll talk about in terms of transfer. But I guess he's talking about that. CD saying, Roy totally to blame for overplaying Olise. Totally unnecessary injury, not for the first time this season. Fed up with it. 100% agree as well. I never thought, I'll be honest, people, I never thought that I'll come on here and I'll talk about lack of subs leading to injuries. Because let's be honest, you don't really think about, when we talk about subs, we don't really think about, oh, take off Olise, he's going to go and get injured. It's more, you know, take off Olise, let's have fresh players out on the pitch to give us more in attack or in defense for whatever reason. That's what the reason is. But something that we avoid is, yes, these players could get injured. Forget about changing the game. These players could get injured if they don't get subbed off. And I think here we are. There's another reality check. There's a lot of teams that's getting, you know, players out injured, but I don't think we're helping ourselves by overusing these players. You know, I get it. They're great, and we would love to see them play 90 minutes week in, week out, but they're human. They're not robots. So they're not going to last that long, you know, throughout the season, especially if they're picked up by injury before the season even started. Luke saying, rather not rushing back then. Henry saying, I agree with you. He's inclining to take players off to rest like Olise isn't good enough. He's 78. It's hard to surprise him, but it's a crucial thing to get right, especially with previous injuries. Maybe back in the day it worked, but this is the problem. Like, with the science that you have right now, with you know, we're not a championship club. We've got physios, we've got different people, sports scientists that's involved in the game now. It might be worth at times to listen to the advice, because you're either going to find out one way or another, and we don't know how long he's out for now. Hopefully it's just for the Everton game, but still, this should be a reality check. Just use your subs. They're not going to bite you. The money's not going to come out of your own pocket if you use the subs. Use the subs and save the players. Even if you don't think they can change it, save the players, because they're getting overrun. The amount of injuries we've had, they're getting over, and it's not coincidence. This proves it. That's not a coincidence, because he was warned. And here we are again. Olise is out injured again. That's just stubbornness, which I agree is coming from Chris. He says the following as well. Fraz Meister says he did the same with Decore as well. He had a knock that kept him out. He rushed him back and boom, ruptured Achilles. And with Eze rushing back and he was not right. Now Olise, look, Eze's not right now as well. We can tell. Even though Eze scored a goal against Brentford, I don't think a lot of people can say that he had a fantastic performance. He doesn't feel right. Not even just the Brentford game. Ever since Eze has come back, even in the Chelsea game, he was pretty much, you know, quiet. He didn't really have the impact that Eze has. I wonder why that is. Are we rushing him back from injury? Is he at 100%? Because right now, to me, Eze doesn't seem 100%. He doesn't seem 100%. So what, are we going to keep Eze out on the pitch and just hope he turns 100%? Well, luckily, we've got a 16-day break where Eze won't be kicking a ball, hopefully, in football pitch, unless he goes and plays with his friends or there's Palace training. But hopefully, he'll have a bit of rest there. But Eze hasn't looked ready. And I get it to a certain extent, because if it's not Eze, who plays as a number 10? Maybe França. Maybe França gets involved. Maybe play França as a number 10. But Will Hughes was playing there. And that's what it comes down to. You have to trust some of your other players. When Eze's out injured, or if Olise has a risk of injury, fine, you're going to start Eze. Fine, you're going to start Olise. But you have to understand the balance. You have to also rotate it and trust the players that you have out on the bench to make sure you get the most out of Eze and Olise. Because Eze, I'll be honest, people, I don't know about you, but I don't think it's at 100%. There's been no sign of Eze returning to the form that he's been at in previous times. And that's how I see it. That's how I see it. But yeah, let's see. Mateta puts more heart in than Edouard. I think we need to play Mateta more. Well, Mateta's been playing more now. Edouard hopefully won't be rushed back. And the main reason why Edouard won't be rushed back is because, you know, Mateta's been playing great. And I just don't see Roy dropping Mateta. And I don't think he should be dropping Mateta. But then again, there'll come a time if Mateta keeps playing as he is right now, we have to make sure even with him, like, use him properly. He doesn't have to start to the rest of the season. You might be able to start Edouard here and there or bring off Edouard off the bench. We have to be a bit more sensible and act like a Premier League club that's in 2024 and not in the 1980s when approaching games, because that's what it feels like. It just feels like such an old thing to do, to keep these players out on the pitch for 90 minutes despite them having massive injuries, despite the manager being warned not to keep these players out for that long and not to overuse them to this matter. So that's what frustrates me more than anything. But on top of that, with Olise, it doesn't end there. As fans, we can be a bit frustrated, of course, with this injury. But there is also interest in Michael Olise, according to reports that came out earlier on today. And that is that Olise has gained interest from Manchester United as one of the first signings under the Sir Jim Ratcliffe era. That's what they want to do. Olise signed a 4-year contract at Palace in August, but his new £100,000 a week deal includes a release clause, but it comes into effect in the summer. There is a release clause, but it comes into effect in the summer. So Palace will not be selling Olise in January. In the summer, that could be a whole different discussion. And if you want my honest opinion, I could see Olise leaving. Especially if he continues in this form, of course. Now he's out injured. We don't know for how long. But if he continues in this form, I can see him leaving. Now, how much is Olise's release clause? Because he did sign a new deal. And trust me, we get on to see Parish, but he's not done. He's not going to have Olise's release clause at 35 million. There's different people saying 60 million is his release clause. Others saying 75. But we don't know. But according to the reports, that release clause comes into effect in the summer, so teams can use that, but we don't know how much it is. But let me know what you think. How much do you think Olise's release clause should be realistically? For me, I mean, anything lower than 60 million wouldn't be good enough for me, and I don't think it will be anything lower than 60 million. But then again, Manchester United. Look, let's talk about the Manchester United side of the story. I don't want him to go to United. I don't. I think he's got the capability. I think he's got the potential to reach the top of the game. And Manchester United is a very toxic club. We've seen a lot of players that went to Manchester United that's struggled massively, that's changed their careers. And I think Olise should just stay away from Manchester United. I think he's got a good camp around him. We can see it because he could have easily left Palace for Chelsea. And now you can see the hype around Olise. I think he can reach the top of the game. And Manchester United right now is not a stable club. They're not a stable club. If he was to leave, I'd prefer Olise to join the likes of Man City. I think that would make so much sense. Work under Pep. Work with literal winners in the team. Aim for the top. Aim for trophies. For growth with one of the best managers of all time. That makes sense to me. And Manchester City have been interested before. But United, they might have the money. But do you really want to go United? Of course, they're a bigger club than Palace. But in the state that they're in right now, is it really going to help Olise's career? I can't tell for definite. Just going to a bigger club doesn't solve everything. Olise can join whatever club he wants. I think he's got that power. Majority of the clubs around the world anyways. And if that's the case, then why would he go and join Manchester United at this current moment of time? I don't know. Because I don't think they've shown with younger players that they could develop them into the potential that they're hyped up into. We've seen it, even the likes of Jadon Sancho right now. Sancho's out of the Man United team. There's been a lot of players. Wan-Bissaka, when he left Palace, At United, he struggled massively. I know recently he had the upturn of form and now he's out injured, but like he did. Who's gone to Man United, a young player, and has actually succeeded at Man United? Like who? I right now I can't think of any players. Maybe because that's just my bias in the back of my mind. But I just can't. I can't think of any young players. So for me, I think the release clause is interesting. Maybe Man United might try to trigger it in the summer. I think they will try their best, of course, because it's the start of a new era with a new ownership, minority owner. But then again, I think with Olise, he needs to make the right decision, and I think he will make the right decision. And if he was to leave Palace, I wanted to join another club as well. Tim saying, honestly, I can see him at Madrid or Bayern. Yeah, if Olise goes to United, he's just going to end up like in the likes of Sancho. I think he'll ruin his career. Says Yak, Olise to City or Arsenal or Liverpool would make more sense. Exactly, 100%. I think those three clubs, it makes more sense than Manchester United. I just don't see why he would go to Manchester United when he will gain interest from the clubs that we've listed there from Henry. Luke saying Liverpool would be good, man. Would love to see him there. Yeah, look, anywhere but Man United, basically. Anywhere but Man United. Currently can't be more than 65 million with I hope a sell-on fee, but I would put a new deal in front of him that puts a clause at 100 mil. Yeah, I mean he just signed a new contract in August, so I don't know if Palace are willing to pay more than £100,000 per week and puts a release clause of 100 million. That for Palace that 100 million release clause sounds fantastic, of course. But would Olise want to sign a new deal with £100 million release clause? Because realistically, as much as we love Olise, £100 million is a lot of money. And that will turn some clubs away from Olise, which I understand why. I think he's got the room to go all the way to the top. £100 million is a lot of money. I think 60 to 65 is more realistic for these bigger clubs. So I don't know if the 100 mil would benefit Olise and whether he would want to sign a new deal. But then again, if you give him another massive increase in wages, could that also have a domino effect? Would Eze want more? Would Gahey want more? There is, politics involved in it as well. I don't think it's a simple case of we offer Olise another contract right now, £100 million, and he's going to take it. The others, the other players in the team would want more money as well, and I don't know if it will cause a mess like that. Look, we don't even know what the release clause is. It might be £75 million, it might be 60, it might be 50. But according to reports, that release clause will come into play in the summer. Kevin saying anywhere but Man U and Weed. Yeah, I don't think Brighton have got that pull to get Olise. I'll be honest, as well as they're doing, so it should be fine. But yeah, that's the Olise side of the story. Let us know in the comment section down below as well what you think if you're watching a replay. Where do you think Olise will end up? And do you realistically see Olise leaving in the summer? I think we're gonna have to make some changes. Unfortunately, one of these bigger players will have to leave to raise funds. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see who the bigger player is going to be. The big player that's going to leave. It could be Gahey. Olise might end up staying, or it could be Eze. So there's a few players that could end up leaving. But I think one of them will leave this summer, and the money should be reinvested back into the squad to maybe get 2-3 other quality players. Yak saying, I think we need to focus on him staying, not on where he will go. I think no matter what, we can't really replace a player at his level. Yeah, I mean, how can you replace a player at his level when there isn't that much better in the league? That's why all these big clubs want him. But I think for Palace, if he was to get 60, 75 million pound, yeah, that would be massive money for us. And remember, look, we got Olise for what, £8 million? I'm not saying that we'll have another fantastic window and we'll find another Olise, but that money could be reinvested back into the squad, and we might find another Gahey, Olise. We might have another squad that's being built with that money if the money's used rightly. So yeah, I don't think it's as simple forward as we shouldn't sell Olise. I understand. I think eventually we're going to have to sell these players unless we have different owners that can just pump in money. But that's not going to happen in short term. So yeah, some of these players will unfortunately have to leave. Even if we get Nketiah. And we're going to be talking about Nketiah as well. There's an update. In fact, let's talk about Nketiah now. According to Ben Jacobs, he said the following. There's an update on Nketiah. He said that Arsenal view Nketiah as part of their plans. Offers won't be entertained unless Arsenal find another striker in January, and that is not guaranteed. Now, yesterday we spoke about the club preferring Nketiah based on reports over Nketiah. But then again, I said it as well. Nketiah right now doesn't seem like a realistic target. I don't think that name's been thrown out there, but it's not really realistic. I mean, there's a report suggesting that Arsenal are not willing to entertain any offers unless they find another striker. So we have to wait for Arsenal to find another striker. And on top of that, the money that's been said about Nketiah, I mean, it won't be cheap. Maybe 30, 40. Like, I don't see, one, I don't think Nketiah's proven that he's worth that much. And two, I just don't see Palace paying that kind of money for a striker anyways, let alone, in January, where we know that we're not going to have a massive budget like that. So for me, Nketiah just seems like, as long as Nketiah keeps getting mentioned, it just feels like a PR move. It's just Nketiah. We're interested in Nketiah. But yeah, we're interested in Nketiah, but Arsenal are not willing to really sell Nketiah. So what are the other alternatives? I don't want us to stay in this window and talk about Nketiah only. If we are interested in another striker, I want to see other names being involved, because we know the situation with Nketiah. It's out there. Arsenal are not willing to entertain any offers until they're bringing in another striker. And that's if they will bring in another striker, because they've got their own financial problems that they have to deal with. So, yeah, I think Nketiah is very ambitious. I just don't see Nketiah coming to Palace. I'll be very shocked if he does. I'll be very shocked. The money will go to the stand that we'll never get. Surely not. CD saying, remember Roy's comments after Bournemouth game. Subs were disappointing. Yeah, I think these comments, even from the journalist, I think it's Don Smith, about Roy overusing Olise, I think they came after the Bournemouth game. When was the 13th of December? Who did we play then? Let me just have a quick look now. But he was warned, we'll play Bournemouth 16th, Liverpool. It was pre-Man City after Liverpool game that, Roy Hodgson has been cautioned about Olise's game time and by the physios and how much we're using him. So, we've had that warning and the comments have been there as well. But yeah, let's talk about the last person today, the academy player we got from the Eagles beak, who have been pretty reliable as of recently. And they said the following, that Sean Graham is a potential target for Carlisle United. They're struggling in League One, but they want him out on loan for the rest of the season. The 19-year-old has recently signed a new contract at Palace that's keeping him at the club until 2026. I'm just going to keep this one short. There's no point in going in depth. For any of these academy players to go out there, get first-team experience, I'm all for it. I think it's the right move. Carlisle, yes, they are struggling, but I think that would be a good experience for him as well. Hopefully, some of these other academy players can go out there and prove themselves, because let's be honest, they're not going to get any game time at Palace. They're not. It's very unlikely. I mean, we're seeing it right now with the Correa being out injured. Richards, I'm not saying has been playing bad, but Ozil's not getting many minutes, despite him performing with the relatively low minutes that he's got. France are also in the same boat. So for me, any academy player that's got opportunity to go play first team football for the rest of the season, go do it. Go do it. Make sure the club does it as well. Go out there and send these players out on loan. Let them get the first team experience, and then we'll see who the next manager is, and then we'll go from there, especially with the youth players. Because right now, as much as we want to see some of these youth players playing for Palace, it's not really adding up what we're doing out on the pitch. I mean, we're making lack of subs as it is right now. Forget about youth players. And I just don't see, apart from the France's, maybe Raksaki, who's been out injured as well, and the Ozos, who's not getting any game time. I don't really see any other youth player that's really going to get an opportunity under Roy, unless we literally have 0 players left, because he just doesn't prefer the youth. As simple as that. Yak saying get Solanke in the Palace squad. That's ambitious. Someone actually said this to me today as well. Solanke to Palace. I mean, why would Solanke come to Palace? 2, why would Bournemouth sell Solanke to Palace? And 3, would Palace be able to afford Solanke? I don't know, because if I'm Solanke, Bournemouth are doing well. Why would you want to leave Bournemouth and come to Palace? Especially with a manager that's playing football to his strengths. Solanke is ambitious. CD saying Olise to Liverpool more likely. Potentially right now, the latest reports suggest that Man United are interested, and there's going to be release clause that could be potentially activated in the summer. Need some players ASAP, says Luke. Yes. Fraz Meister says, I think Nketiah is 25 million tops, not worth anymore, and Parish won't pay that much. Nketiah on loan till summer with a buy clause. And that's the thing. With Nketiah, I mean, even if he is 25 million, I don't really see us paying 25 million. And even if we did, is Nketiah worth 25 million? there's been a lot of chances for Arsenal that he's missed. I'm not saying he's a bad football player. And in fact, I understand why we've been linked with him for ages, because I think he can be a bit dangerous on the ball. But in front of goal, he's nowhere near clinical enough to be worth 30 or 40 or whatever Arsenal want. And 25 million, that's still a bit ambitious. I mean, Steve Parish, you're going to watch the clips based on reports. And I don't think he's going to approve it as much as we've been linked with him and wanted him for a very long time. But yeah, look, Nketiah, if he gets mentioned, we'll keep him updated. We'll keep you lot updated with the Nketiah situation. But for me, as I said, I think it's going to be very, very, very unlikely that Nketiah joins, because there's so many factors that just go against us, and it's just not going to work out. But look, people, we've been here for half an hour. As usual, daily Palace content will be along the way. Tomorrow, we'll be having a live watch-along for the Everton game, so make sure to check that out. And also, we'll be having a live match reaction and potentially player ratings as well. So there's going to be a lot of match day content tomorrow. As always, if you have enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Maybe we could do a live Palace news if there is any news right before the game as well. So maybe there could be 4 Palace videos out tomorrow. Like, subscribe. Thanks to every single one of you that's watching on replay. Make sure to leave down your thoughts and ideas in the comment section down below. And until next time, up to Palace.